All right, in this video, we're talking constraints, something that is near and dear to me, and I know it's every animator's favorite topic. In all seriousness, I know people usually hate this, but in Unreal, it's actually really easy and super simple to use, as opposed to Maya, where it requires a PhD in 3D animation to understand how to do constraints properly. It's very simple here. I think you're gonna like it a lot. So what we'll do is we'll use this shot. This is shot 50, where Beta breaks through this wall and rips it open. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to set up a constraint system so that we can adjust the timing of the doors opening. And my preference here is going to be, actually, let me go ahead and get the lighting out of here. Get rid of some of that stuff out of the way, no clutter. My preference is going to be to take the hands and attach them to the door instead of the other way around. The reason for that is if we attach the doors to the hands, well, when the hands start to rotate like this, the doors will start to pull out of the sockets. But if we attach the hands to the doors, then we can just kind of move it up and down. Where's the button? There we go, up and down, and the hands will come along for the ride. A little bit simpler. So let's go ahead and do that. Very, very easy. All we need to do is say, hey, hand, you right there, IK arm. Let's go ahead and just twirl down our constraints menu, and we'll say add a constraint, add a parent constraint. Actually, you know what? Hit escape. I should probably pick a frame. Let's pick a frame and say, you know what, where do we want to begin? Let's go to frame 130, 131. We'll go to 131. As of 131, take this hand, and I'll go to constraints and add a parent constraint. And we can pick the control itself, or we can click the skeletal mesh and grab a joint inside. Usually that's what we do. It's a deeper constraint. So let's go ahead and just select the door corridor skeletal mesh. When I select that, it'll say which bone do we want to attach to. We want the top panel here. And so just like that, we're done. That's the constraint. Now, how do we know? What do we just do? If I come down to my sequencer and I look inside this left arm IK, I can twirl that open and I can see that there is a parent relationship that's been created as of 131. Now, unlike Maya, which when you create a constraint inside of Maya, it makes the constraint as if it's always been there. So then it's just always attached. But unlike Maya, here in Unreal, all the animation preceding my constraint is the same. Then once I hit, this moment, the rest is now dynamically attached. Now you'll see that the hand is like slipping out of the way now. And that is because the animation it still has animation, right? Again, in Maya, when you do a constraint, you have to sort of set up this sort of scapegoat situation where the object that you're constraining has to have some kind of a group or a locator so that it's self-contained within a safe bubble, that you constrain that bubble to the other object, and you have to sort of like nest things together to be able to still animate and constrain the same objects and have that control. That's not necessary here in Unreal. And so I already have a bunch of animation on this hand control that you're seeing happening on top of the constraint. And so to not double transform it, I can actually just get rid of the majority of this keyframe animation. So I'll just take my location, my rotation, my scale, all this stuff, and I'll just like delete most of it after this point. Yeah, why not? Just get rid of all that. Boop. So now you'll grab the door. There's no more animation on the hand, but the hand comes with the door, right? There's still finger animation. So there's some nice stuff going on here, but now the hand isn't doing weird other stuff. But that's what's nice about this system is now if I say, all right, let me grab that upper, what do you call that? That like panel top thing up here. That corridor door with its keyframes, I can go into the curve editor of it and we can take the translation, which axis is this going to be? Y. Looks like the Y control. Here we have the motion that pulls this up just like that. I can adjust all of this. I can just say, you know what, let me just clear out some keyframes and, maybe I want to use my tween tools and I want to adjust this like that. Boom. With one slider, I'm moving both the hand and the door. So I can go ahead and just leave this lower for a while so that it doesn't really open and then it slams open. Bam. Or maybe I want to say, really slow it down. And he pushes it. Or maybe it's like a really slow thing. It's very linear and even, a little boring. But, maybe it's really, really light. And he just You know, probably not. I like the way we had it before. I like keeping it nice and low, and maybe we'll slam it open. Boom. Right? And so we now have this really easy method of taking this one control, doing our thing. But what if we want to take the hand off the door at a certain point? We can just select that hand, and we can turn the constraint off by just coming up to our constraints area and clicking this active keyframe button. And here you can see down in the sequencer, you can see both in the sequencer itself with the, if I take my left hand control, you can see inside of it the parent where, you know, we have all the preceding animation, the attached section that we were driving with the door. And then as soon as I turned off the constraint, the animation itself, or the hand itself, is now free of this door. I can take the door and send it away. Whee! And it's no longer constrained. But the hand is able to have its own animation as well. And so the keyframe data that I had on the hand has now been baked back down to the hand control so that, you know, everything that you do is preserved when you switch on or off a constraint. It preserves what you were doing. It doesn't snap back to some weird rest position. It doesn't change everything you did previously as if the constraint has always been there. It's a much smarter system than inside of Maya, which is really, really nice. And it's so easy to work with. I'm not sure what happened to his face there. Please ignore that. It's a really flexible system, and you can see here that we've got this entire, you know, hand animation where everything inside of here, driven by a constraint, and we're good to go. We can do the other hand as well, just really fast. I'll take the IK hand. I'll find the pose where he grabs it. So maybe I'll just go right here. Looks like frame 130. Sure. We'll take frame 130. We've got this hand control, add a constraint, parent constraint. I can pick the control object, but it's better to usually grab the actual skeletal mesh and specify a bone. And we'll say panel bottom for that. In this particular case, now we've got the right arm IK that's now, you know, doing its own thing. It grabs on. It's got additional animation, so it's probably going to get a little bit weird looking towards the end. So I'll go ahead and just say all of my animation data after the constraint is unnecessary. Boop. And now I'll say throughout this whole section, if I want to take the up and down, which is this guy, translate, here we go. I can start to clear out some of these keyframes. Maybe mess with the interpolation. And I can just kind of adjust, right? And maybe I just want to push this whole thing to happen a little bit later. Just like that, using my curve editor, and bam. You know, now his fingers flex, go like this. Now his fingers flex, and he pushes it with the heel of his hand, and bam. And if I want to turn that constraint off, all I need to do, once again, is select the hand control itself, and just click this button. Boop. And now you can see in real time, it turned off the constraint and reconverted the animation that the hand had back into the space of the hand versus the space of the door. So constraints are really that easy inside of Unreal, super powerful, super easy, actually a lot of fun to work with. And you can do some really crazy stuff stacking them on top of each other. That's so much more to talk about with constraints. You can bake them, you can do all kinds of cool stuff. But if you want to know more about that, you can check out my YouTube channel where I have a bunch of tutorials. I also have classes on my website if you want to go super deep into the workflows and what you can do with animation in Unreal. But here in this series, we're going to wrap it up here with constraints and move on to the next video to deformers. Very fun.